What is going on? Reef Fan March here, Frag Box TV. Whoa, what is this? Steady camera, a tripod. I didn't know it was possible. Yes, I haven't done a video like this in a while. What is this? Why am I using this angle? This is a coral unboxing video. You go on YouTube and you see unboxing videos of new cameras and laptops and all that stuff. Well, I do unboxing videos of corals because I like to share with you my thoughts and experiences as I painstakingly open 260 corals on this order. Beautiful little open brain, really nice color. We don't need more coral actually right now in the store. Okay, let me rephrase that. We don't need more aquapora. We definitely need some more coral. Our beds here are nearly empty, which is shocking because just last Thursday, which is 7 days ago, we just received a shipment. But man, sometimes we just move such a tremendous volume of coral. So thank you to everyone for helping us make room for this next shipment. There was a little Thanksgiving Day sale. Okay, I'm gonna hook up this tripod again. And it was quite effective. A lot of corals gone. And I try to avoid sales really the best I can. Let me explain why. I want sales to matter. And when you do a sale every week and a weekend sale, I find customers just wait for the sales. They don't really buy in between. And it's just not the kind of look we are striving for here at Frag Box. I don't want to be like a sale company. Now, the one that we did last week, that being said, it looked like we were going out of business. You know, sometimes we'll do 40% off, 50% off. I lose on some of the corals, but the store here is really small. If you've never had the pleasure of visiting, we are definitely on the smaller end of these sorts of stores, which means I'm super limited on tank space, which means I'm desperate. It comes to the point where I really don't have a choice, so I got to move old inventory. That means you guys can take advantage, but I try my best really to avoid those sales. I forgot what I'm doing. I'm talking so much. I got to show you plate corals. Look how nice they are. Some stores, like, I'm not going to mention their names, but you go on sites and it's like, it's just everything is always on sale on the all the time. So it's not really a sale. It's just like, it's like a fugazi sale. And I don't like that. I want a sale to matter. I want people to get excited when there is a sale. These are beautiful acans. Oh man, I don't know if the light is really good. Maybe this video will be more about me talking. Actually, the video is sort of inspired by a customer that I met just this past week. And I say in the videos, if you're driving, look at the road. I yell that out sometimes because I care about your safety. But people use these videos almost like a podcast. Hey, beautiful Yumas. So far, so good. Really clear water and really clear water temperature, which is super important. And they use them as a podcast. While they're doing other things, they put me on in the background. And I haven't done one of these sorts of videos in a while where I'm really just, I'm talking as I'm unloading these corals. So, oh, beautiful little combo flower pot. We're starting to see these more and more out of Indonesia, and they are so nice. You get 3 or 4 different colors on one individual piece. Why do I like bringing stuff in now, this time of year, fall? It's October 16th. It's really the most perfect time to import corals, and it's because temperature-wise here, we're still kind of warm during the day, so it's like 14, 15 degrees Celsius. Another beautiful Yuma outside right now, and it's a little bit cooler at night. So the corals, they don't overheat and they don't get too cold. This is really a really nice time to ship them, and they end up looking really good. Summertime is a little bit tricky if it's too hot here. We always want corals, if we have a choice, hotter or colder. Oh, what a nice wall brain. Maybe I should change the angle of this camera. Let me try something. Oh yeah, now I think you can kind of see the color of them as they come out of the bag. So if we have the choice between hotter and cooler, we want cooler. The water right now, just estimating, I would say it's probably 65 degrees Fahrenheit. It's weird that I use Fahrenheit for the aquariums when I'm talking about reef tanks, but when it comes to outside degrees, I use Celsius. That's how my Canadian brain works. If you didn't know, we are recording live from Toronto here in Canada. And this is so far a really nice shipment. This is a supplier that I've been using for quite a long time. And I actually love doing this. It just, every time I do it, it reminds me, oh, crazy, beautiful branching hammer corals. These are probably going to get fragged up just because I just find that frags, they sell better. This is what the market is really demanding of us, is frags, not colonies. We almost always offer colony first. If you want the whole piece, it's here. But in the next week or two, it's not going to sell. And then we end up fragging it. And people just like collecting smaller heads of a bunch of different colors rather than spending, you know, a couple hundred on one single one. They would rather 10 heads of multiple ones. So every time I do this, it really reminds me of the first time that I did this, which is, damn, I don't know, 15 something years ago, a long time ago. And I was super nervous because I'd never done it before, and I really had no freaking clue. Oh, beautiful mushrooms. These are going to be just outstanding once they go in the water. So super nervous, going to customs and not knowing what I was doing, presenting my case to them. Now it's like second nature. I can do it with my eyes closed, but you know, the first time's always losing your virginity. It was nerve-wracking. And then I just realized it's a game of permits and paperwork. As long as those are in order and you're doing everything by the book, you really shouldn't have any problems. Now, doing these kind of videos, I'm always going to get about 4 or 5 emails. People are going to ask me for the supplier, where I'm getting these crazy blastomussa corals from. And there's a couple reasons I don't share this supplier information. One, I've done a lot of work to get them. Oh, very nice torch coral. These are going to be crazy. Hold on. At the end of this video, I'm going to walk through. So if you don't want to hear all the commentary, just fast forward to the end, and there'll be a second part of the video where I talk about the corals inside the tank once they're already open. If you are tired of my voice already and you just want to get straight to the action, just wait closer to the end. I'll do that. So a lot of trial and error to find which suppliers are good. I don't know who's emailing me, you know? It could be anyone. You say, oh, hey, I'm in Texas and I'm looking to open a store and blah, 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 but you know, you could be the guy down the street. So I don't know who I'm dealing with. That's another reason. I've had people in the past get upset that I didn't give them the supplier's information. Now, I can't really think of any other business where you watch a video on YouTube, you call them up, you ask them where they're getting their product from, and then when they don't give it to you, you get upset. So it's not even the first time. It's happened a few times. They get upset that I don't share the information. Now, if you want consulting, you want March to give you all his suppliers and sit down with you and show you where to order from, that's a different story. Those things cost time and also cost money. Beautiful acro. I really didn't need any acropora anymore. We have so many right now, but there were a couple species I saw in there that I was like, oh my god, I gotta have those. So unfortunately, or fortunately for you guys, I did get a couple other ones. One of them is going to be speciosa. So that always boggled my mind, how someone could be upset. I would never think of watching. I watch a lot of car videos on YouTube. I don't watch that much reefing stuff outside of maybe Tidal Gardens, because I find his content, it's just world class. Like, it's just the production is the camera, you know, the equipment he's using is great, and the way he presents it, I really look up to him. And also the way he speaks, the way he uses the English language. His sentences are well thought out and calculated and proper English. I find that he's like the exact opposite of me, where I'm more raw and off the cuff. I find his videos really informative, and I will go back and watch videos, even coral care videos, and every time I watch one, I learn something new. So just got to give a shout out to Tidal Gardens. I don't need to really give an introduction. I'm sure you guys know who he is. So that's the reason why we do not share suppliers. Many years trial and error to figure out, because like right now I'm unboxing a lot of soft coral and LPS. There's really only a handful of acro. This is not my main, this looks like a nice maybe frog spawn. This is not my main acropora supplier. My zoanthid supplier is not my torch supplier. They're all different, and these are things that I figured out over countless shipments and thousands of dollars spent, and many late nights, really late nights, I mean sleepless nights, and frustration and tears, and you find that each one has their specialty. And I think that goes for so many different things. You wouldn't go to, you know, your eye doctor to get your feet looked at. You wouldn't take your baby to a dentist if you need a baby doctor. You know what I'm saying? Each one has their specialty. And the same goes for corals. So these are things you only learn over the years. This guy's got probably the best overall. There's some corals I won't order from here. There's some corals I need to order from here. The mushrooms, I'm telling you, are going to be out of this world. So far, really, really clear water. Looks really good. So back to my original story. I was talking about my first order when I got super nervous to do it. I wasn't nervous about the supplier. Now, a friend of mine, he just went back to Colombia yesterday. He usually comes and stays with me for the summers. His name is Alejandro. You guys, if you've been in the hobby in Toronto for somewhere between 15 and 25 years, you may remember him as Frag Cave. He was really quite the inspiration for me to go balls deep into this business. He had a shop. He converted his basement more or less into a store. When you would walk into it, you would not be able to tell the difference between his basement and some of the nicest stores out there. Like, he really presented it in such a fantastic way. And we were at a weird spot where I was just starting to get into the business. I was a customer of his, and he was ramping down. He was looking to move to Puerto Rico, get out of the business, and do something else with his life. And so the timing was just divine. And we were competitors, friendly competition for a very, very brief stint, for a very brief moment in time. But like I said, very divine timing. He's ramping down, I'm ramping up. And what does this guy do? He's really a gem. I bought out all of his inventory when he was really getting ready to close and make the move and to sell his house. He had to sell off whatever was left. So I took everything. I took all his fish. I took all his corals, all in one lump payment, one shot. And I still have some of those fish till today. Some really, really old fish, some of them quite mean, some old damsels that are just massive. But anyways, he also gave me his supplier list, his book of business, which he didn't have to do, but we became friends. And we're still friends till today. And maybe you've seen him in some of the videos where he helps me unbox, or he'll just be in the store helping me do handyman work. He's just, I consider him a brother. But anyways, not to get too sentimental, he gave me his suppliers. And so that first order was one of his trusted suppliers. So I didn't have that sort of nervousness of sending money abroad. It was different when I started. There was no Instagram. Can you imagine? Can you imagine when I started this business, there was no Instagram? My website is nearly 15 years old. I think it's 12. That's why if you ever see that it's clunky and it's a little buggy, it's because it works. And I have been very hesitant to update it, because anytime any developer or anyone convinces me it's time for an update, it crashes everything. So if it ain't broke, you don't fix it. I've had staff try and get me to update it. No, it works. We put up corals and they sell. That's all that matters for now. Maybe in the future we can re-examine that. But back then, no Instagram. The very, very early phases of Facebook, where it was really just about like making friends. There was, the marketing aspect wasn't there, the business accounts and pages, no marketplace. There wasn't even Facebook Messenger at the time. This is how far we're going back. To find suppliers, what I used to do back in the day, there was a business book. Oh, hold on, let me show you this. We have our first DOA bubble coral. I just put it in the water and I watched the tissue come off. Now, they usually ship pretty good. Look, this is really cool though, just to see. Look at the skeleton. I know it's kind of morbid because we're looking now at the deceased coral, but there's really no other coral like that. And even when it's alive and healthy, there's really nothing that looks even remotely close to a bubble coral. It's such a cool piece. But anyways, let's see if I can remember where I was. ADHD is a real thing, I'm telling you, children. Book of business, yes. This is how I found suppliers back in the day. So you want to do business, let's say, with Indonesia, for example. This is an empty bag. Oh, this may have had ice in it before. So it was sort of like the yellow pages for business. It was put out by the Indonesian government to help build export, to build trade. So people all over the world would look and you'd circle. So Indonesia is a big exporter of coffee. So you want to bring in coffee into your country, you go on this business book, you go under C, and then you would, hey, how's it going? And then you would look for coffee. So what I would do, you wouldn't really find coral in the book, but you would find ornamental fish. And there's freshwater, there's plants, there's all this stuff. So I would go, sift through it, find the name, stay up super late at night, and call until I got through, try to find someone that spoke English on the other end, and ask for corals. And then eventually you get lucky, you find one, but you're never meeting them, and you're really taking a chance. There weren't photos the way they are now, so these corals that I'm unboxing, almost all of these are what you see is what you get on my end as well. So he does charge a premium. The supplier is not cheap, but I get to pick every single piece. A lot of suppliers back in the day, sorry, all of them back in the day, you just picked from an Excel sheet. They'd send you a sheet or a PDF or a fax. You get to see what they have. It's the Latin name, maybe the color if you're lucky. And from that you order. You want 10 Euphilia ancora. I want 10 Euphilia glabarensis, Para ancora, Goniastria, Gonipora. There were no fancy, funky trade names, tiger tail, banana, fart torch, none of that. No amaze balls, nothing. The coral naming for me really started with when I first saw it and bought into it. Zoanthids were just starting to be named. So my first Zoa I ever bought with the name on it was a candy apple red from the same guy, Alejandro. I paid $30 for a single polyp, and that was back 2000 and it would have been like 2008, maybe 2009. And I used to think that Zoa naming by name was really the stupidest invention. I used to laugh at people. I thought it was so funny. And then all in one moment, I had such a paradigm shift, and I was hooked. From the stupid candy apple red, it was game over for me. And that's what started really my Zoa collection, and addiction was started from that moment. Acropora for me, the naming really started with reef raft. Nobody was calling acro anything than the Latin name if we could figure it out, and then the color. So green staghorn, red abracanoides, or whatever. Reef raft comes along. Well, actually, he had been in business 10 years prior to when I even got in the hobby. He was around Reef Raft Canada. For me, it's really the only reef raft that matters, but I'm not going to get into that long, drawn-out naming debate and what happened there. That's a whole nother video and story, and I don't feel like going through a defamation lawsuit. So actually, if you ever hear me in the store, I say I don't talk good, I don't talk bad about other stores. People ask me, is this one good? Is that one good? Should you know who's good? I don't say good. I don't say bad. Actually, wrong. I'll say good. I'll give praise when it's due. I won't speak poorly about any other store. And I learned my lesson once. I won't say which store it was, but I witnessed something at a store. I opened my big mouth, and then I got hit with a lawsuit for defamation. It came to nothing. He withdrew it because I guess he realized that it wasn't going to go anywhere, and there was no case. And then my lawyer responded with a countersuit, and anyways, it was just a good lesson to just keep your mouth shut, stay in your lane, and mind your business. So I'm happy I learned that lesson early on. But Reef Raft, you see how I get sidetracked? You see how ADHD works? I bought a piece from him called Reef Raft Red Dragon. Now it's super well known. You could probably find a frag for like anywhere between $40 and $60, depending on where you get it and the size. I'm pretty sure it's an Acropora carduus. You might be able to convince me it's an Ensenada, if you really want to get into it. But it's in that sort of species of acros that we call deep water, whatever that means. Deep water Acropora. Now, I paid $150 Canadian for 1 inch of that piece back in the day, and that was my introduction into named acros. Now, nobody could really name a piece and command a price tag like Reef Raft Canada. I'm just going to say it. This guy was the pioneer in naming hard corals. Tyree was around, but wasn't really naming hard stuff. We had the Tyree Space Monsters, which I haven't seen in a long time. The Tyree Toadstool, those really, really bright green ones. It still holds the name sometimes today, or we just call them green toadstools. But when it came to acro, he was before Cornbread. That might be too young for some of you guys out there. He was before Jason Fox. He was before Worldwide Corals. He was before all of them. and $150 back then was ludicrous. He had people up in arms, but they'd still pay it. He was good at creating demand, and then people would fall over themselves. Now, Reef Raft Orange Passion, Reef Raft Blue Matrix, Pink Matrix, Reef Raft Pink Cadillac, Red Diablo. He's closed for a number of years. He sold everything. The names, though, still on. It still lives on. Twizzler. There's so many other ones. There's ones that I haven't seen in a long time. And at his peak, you know, he was getting, I would say, 400 Canadian up into maybe up to 1,000 for half-inch to 1-inch pieces. Nobody was naming corals and commanding that price tag. And I think part of the allure and the lore behind the name was that he was in Canada, and so much of this hobby is in the US, and it is very difficult to legally get Acropora across the border, but he was doing it. He would manage to do it, so anyone that had it, or anyone that would make the drive up here to get it and bring it back with whatever means, you know, that separation, that difficulty in getting them, plus the price tag, made them ultra valuable. Not only here, but also in the US and then across the world. Beautiful Yumas. Oh, I can't wait to show you these after under the lights. Some of the nicest Yumas we've had in a while here. That's why I say that back in the day, it was kind of difficult. Today, also, it's easier. We have so many different means and methods, and we're all communicating and connected in different ways. You can find suppliers, but to know which ones are good is still an art. There's still a lot of trust involved. You have to send payment before you get the corals, and then you hope and pray that they're going to send you what you picked. So I had a supplier, a new one that I used for the first time. Maybe you guys heard me speaking on the channel that I think I'm going to get burnt, because 3 times they canceled the shipping date for this order, which is, you know, once is okay. You know, it happens. Flights change, there's delays. In Asia, where a lot of these corals are coming from, so vast majority are Indonesia. We get some from Malaysia. There's some from now, I think, coming out of Cambodia or very soon. Australia, Solomon Islands, Fiji, some pieces coming out of Vietnam, mostly Asia, but we're talking monsoon territory. So very, very crazy weather. It's not uncommon for stuff like this to happen where, you know, a big storm comes through and they have to move the shipment. And just, in some cases, just unable to make it to the airport. The farms, for example, Banyuwangi, the part of Indonesia I had the pleasure of visiting, is like 8-hour drive to get to Bali. So you're really, and a ferry ride, you're really, really far. The corals need to transit almost 1 day from the farms in this one particular region to get to Denpasar, to get to the airport, and then however long that transit time to you. So everything has to line up in order to get them there safely. This supplier had canceled the shipment date on me 3 times. So I was basically at the point like, that's it. He's not going to send anything. This is what I get for not staying in my lane, you know, trying new suppliers. Eventually I got the coral, so I didn't get burned in that way. I had written off the money in my head. I said, we're just not getting anything, and it's the cost of doing business. We're going to keep moving. Happens to all businesses. I just haven't experienced it in a long time, and I thought that, you know, maybe the YouTube had gone to my head and my ego. I'm like, who the hell's going to burn March? Are you crazy? You know, but to them, I'm whoever. I'm just the next schmuck. Anyways, the corals arrived, and I got burnt in another way with the most, I would say, unhealthy selection of corals. And then over the coming weeks, just so much coral. I'm embarrassed to say how many of them died. Nothing what I selected, nothing like the photos. Absolutely not ordering again, that's for sure. If anyone asks, you know, about the supplier, I would strongly advise them not to order from them and just find other ones. But stuff like that hadn't happened to me in so long. I think maybe I could say 3 times where I really got burnt over the years sending money abroad, and then in 2 occasions not receiving anything. Once the Philippines, once Indonesia, once locally actually. I got burnt locally through a transshipper, but I'm not going to get into that story. So you just have to be careful, especially when you're sending your money via wire transfer. You really have no protection from your bank, and that's the only payment method they accept. If they're not going to accept, you know, PayPal or anything that gives you any sort, there's no escrow, there's nothing that gives you any sort of protection. You just gotta hope. Thank you for saying that. Mein Shabishnish. I actually have some t-shirts that I made to give away as free t-shirts for you guys with a little bit of a backstory, but I need time in order to do that video. It's about someone who walked into the store and just gave us a good old laugh. They weren't in the hobby. Anyways, it's a Mancha business story. I'm going to give away the shirts, but you're going to have to answer some skill testing questions because I want this to be only for the real reefing fan out there. So yeah, like I said, not the easiest. There is trust involved. You have to send it, and then you have to pray. And that is part of the reason why we don't share them with people that email us. So I hope that if you're watching or listening to this and then you do email us, you're not going to get upset when I don't give you the time of day. Sorry. Okay, the other reason for importing right now, completely unrelated to time of year, is my girlfriend. Why might March's girlfriend have anything to do with importing corals? She is like super duper pregnant. We're expecting our first. She looks like she's about to pop. Due date's in 2 weeks. So I thought, you know what? Let me do this now. Might be kind of harder to do it. I don't really know actually because I've never had a kid, but we're making our first frag. And I thought, let me see. Let me get this out of the way, and then I won't have the pressure of trying to import an order with a new one at home because I don't think that would be fun. And everyone keeps saying the same thing to me, which is, March, are you ready for your whole life to change? Yes, I'm ready to answer all of your questions all in one shot. And also the busy season is coming, so we want to have a good amount of coral. Why busy season? This is super seasonal. This hobby is very, very seasonal. And I think my theory is, at least for Canadians, because basically all these corals are being sold here, it is horrendous outside for, say, 40% of the year. You know, December through March, you go outside, wrong days, you're dead, you know. Thank God, I always say one of the best, not one of, I think the single best invention of the modern era is climate control. You really live like kings. You walk over to your Nest or your little thermostat, and all you have to do is move this finger. This all you got to do. You got to go, I'm too hot. Bing, bing, bing. And then magic, ice cold air comes through your floors. Or I'm too cold. You don't have to make a fire. You don't have to worry. You just move this little digit, and you're gonna live through either the summer or the winter. It really is the best invention we've ever come up with, I think. You can argue some other one with me, but that's where I'm at. But in the winter, we tend to stay inside. At least a lot of people do. In the summer, we like to take advantage. We get out as much. But that means we're not really spending time with the tanks. I see them suffer. I see almost nobody. The store is empty throughout the summer. Actually, I have to say thank you because this summer has been a lot busier than usual. It's probably our busiest summer we've ever had for whatever reason. I have other theories on that, but I'm not going to get into it right now. So we take advantage. We're outside, we're camping, we're at the cottages, we're doing everything, but the tanks get neglected. We see nobody, and then come. Can you put those in the basement as well, please? As it comes towards winter, it gets cold, we move back inside, we go, oh, shoot, I forgot. I have a saltwater tank. And it looks like crap, and it's covered in algae. And people start to pay more attention to it. And that's my theory on the seasonality of this hobby. There's probably some other factors at play, but that's where I'm at. What do you guys think? And I know it's not just me because we call it the summer slowdown. It's just what it is. And different industries are like that. So as we're getting colder over here, it's getting busier. We have Black Friday sales coming up, which I gotta say, it doesn't really make sense for us because we don't have... Black Friday is really the Thanksgiving sale, as far as I know, in the US. Our Thanksgiving Day just happened. Thanksgiving Day is not the same time as the American one. So we don't really have this big Thanksgiving Day blowout sale the way Black Friday happens in the US. But we do Black Friday. Here in Canada, I've watched it slowly, I would say over the past 10 to 12 years, start as something small. All the retailers do it. It's expected. I have people asking me now, middle of October, it's 6 weeks away. I had my first email yesterday through Reef Casa. Somebody asked me if they could get some early Black Friday specials, and I said yes. So just a little hint for you there. So completely expected from our customers, even though, again, I said it just makes absolutely zero sense at all for us to do it. Well, we have our kind of big sale of the winter season is called Boxing Day. It's on the 26th of December. It's right after Christmas, which really doesn't make sense. Like doing your shopping before on the sale, that makes sense to me. You know, I think a lot of Americans do their Black Friday shopping in order to get Christmas presents at a discount, which totally makes sense. But Christmas, you got to do all your shopping before to get the presents in time. If there's any kids watching there, I mean, Santa Claus has to make all the toys before, or maybe parents just turn it off for the kids at this point. But the day after Christmas, it's just like, why are we doing Boxing Day? It's just like an extra day. You've done all your shopping. Now, thanks for spending all that money. We're going to give you some discounts so you guys can spend some more. It doesn't make sense at all to me. It also doesn't make sense that we do Black Friday. But we do. So I can't argue with the numbers. I can argue in theory all day to an audience that I don't know if they're listening or not. But when I look at the numbers, the last 3 years, we've sold more during Black Friday than we did during Christmas. So what does that mean? It means that if we do, you know, let's say 200,000 in sales or $250,000 in sales Boxing Day week, we do about 100,000 more for Black Friday, closer to 300,000. So it's our busiest real week of the year. Now, a lot of the brands that we carry in the store, the best brands, just to name a few, Hydros, the controllers, Neptune Apex, the other controllers, Ecotech Marine, and Aqua Illumination. Some of my favorite brands, some of the best high-end reefing equipment and controllers out there. These are all American brands. And they're all covered under MAP, minimum advertised price. So let me explain how pricing works for anyone out there that maybe doesn't understand. I'll make it really easy. They sell us the product at a wholesale rate, and they tell us what we're allowed to, the minimum we're allowed to sell it for. Advertise it for. Minimum advertised price. So let's say we bought something for $1,000. They're going to say, you cannot advertise that product less than, let's say, $1,200. You're allowed to make 20%. If you do sell it less, you're going to get a warning. If you keep doing it, you're going to get cut off, and you're not going to have the opportunity to buy and sell our products anymore because you don't play by our rules. Now, the manufacturers set those prices, but they also set the sales. So they're allowed to say, okay, during Black Friday, we're going to give you guys, you know, an additional 10 or 15% off, and you're allowed to advertise an additional whatever percent off. So they control not only the regular prices, they also control the sales. And because these 4 big ones, this is just some that I named, are American, they are going to allow us to do those sales during Black Friday. So that's why we do the Black Friday sale, is to pass on those savings to you guys when we're allowed to do it. Are we allowed to do Boxing Day? Some companies do. They recognize it. They realize, okay, let's let the Canadians do some Boxing Day sales. And some of them don't. Or my emails go unanswered, or it's just, you know, it is a really small market. You know, Canada population-wise, we really are a fraction of the U.S., our neighbors. What are we today? 43 million versus closer to 350 million. So we're like, you know, a ninth or an eighth of the size. When it comes to this hobby, it's a very, very small piece of the pie. All the people that I ever meet, when I go to Interzoo every 2 years, I go to all the other shows, there's a lot of booths, there's a lot of new companies, which is cool to see, new hardware, new people innovating stuff. They are all looking for one thing, and that is US distribution. They're looking for someone to take their product on, to embrace it, and to bring it to the US market. They're not there looking for distribution in Puerto Rico or Nigeria or Egypt. I'm not trying to say anything bad about any of those countries. This is not where they're interested. I'm sure they'll talk to you, and that's great. But when you talk to them, they're all, if they hear an American accent, if they any sense that they can pick up that you are from the US, they're going to be immediately drawn to you. And because I don't think I sound Canadian, some people say I do. I think I just sound regular, but for a lot of people, I sound American. I sound like I'm from Boston or from New York or from Chicago or wherever you think I'm from. So when I go to these shows and they hear the way that I speak, they want to know, am I from Manhattan? Do I have a distribution company? And am I going to help them grow their business? And it's kind of cool to see them get excited, and then I have to break the news and say, no, we are the smaller, colder country from, not smaller, we're way bigger in terms of geographical size. In terms of population, we are a lot smaller than they are. So very, very small piece of the action, and that's why sometimes some of these companies they don't even offer a Boxing Day sale. It'll be up to the distributor, Canadian distributor, if they feel like offering it, but it's separate from the manufacturer. That's a very long-winded explanation on how pricing works. But okay, let's keep going. I think we're probably 20-30 minutes in, but I find it almost therapeutic. It's like this is my free therapy session. I can just speak my mind. Hopefully a couple people are listening. You know, when people tell me they watch every episode or they use it as a podcast, every single time, I'm still surprised, because I do get quite tired of hearing myself speak, believe it or not. I go through quiet phases. I got to take breaks from videos. My tongue actually starts to hurt from some of them because it's being used too much. And I do get tired of myself, listening to myself. But so it's always... I don't think people realize what a compliment it is if I meet you at a show, you come in the store and you say, hey, I watch every video, or I really like that one. It does truly mean a lot to me, and I really appreciate you guys watching, because I still feel like sort of a fraud, I gotta be honest. Even though we're closing in on 55,000 subscribers, I think we have, I want to say 1,200, maybe 12 or 1,300 videos out there. Sometimes I do still feel like a fraud. When I first started it didn't come natural to me at all. To speak on camera, the sound of my voice, topics, I had no idea how to do it. It's really just practice. When people say it's so good, it comes to you so naturally, you're so good at it, it really doesn't actually. You go make 1,200 videos like this, it's gonna look like it comes to you naturally. You go back and watch my early episodes, go back 5 years, go back 7 years. The earliest ones, I wanted to start a YouTube channel nearly a decade ago. I was so self-conscious of talking on camera that you'll see that all those videos, I just use subtitles and music. I don't talk on any of them because I couldn't stand the sound of my own voice. If you ever hear yourself talk, the voice coming out of your mouth is not the voice you hear in your head. It's just a fact. It's just how auditory works. But those ones, only subtitles, only music, and I didn't think that I had anything of value to give to anyone. Really, the channel came alive during COVID. Out of sort of a necessity and an accident, there was a customer, so we had to shut down. Canada had some of the absolute strictest COVID rules out of any country in the world. Whether they were necessary or not, that is up for you to decide. Is March vaccinated? No, believe it or not. But that is another video in itself. You guys can decide what to do with that information. But I was never vaccinated. But anyways, we shut the doors as we were instructed to. People were at home, bored and with their fish, and still wanted to take part in this lovely hobby and shop and do all that fun stuff that comes with keeping a reef tank. I had a customer outside that wanted to see the corals. And he said, can you just record a video and send it to me? And I don't give out my personal phone number to customers in the store. If you have my number, it's because you have been shopping here more than like 12 years, and that's all I had back in the day. So my oldest customers still have my number. I haven't changed my number ever. I've had the same phone number since I was 14. It's always been the same number. I don't plan on changing it. So he asked me to record a WhatsApp message and send it to him. And so no, don't give out my number, just because people don't really have boundaries. Once you give out your number, it's just too much. You know, it's already enough with the number of contacts I have, but I really can't respond to every single person about why their torch coral isn't opening, or hey, my wave maker just died, can you help me troubleshoot it? I try to have a life outside of the store the best I can. Sometimes that line does get quite blurred, but he said, okay, how about you just email it to me? But the size of the video was so big because I'd recorded basically everything on my phone of what I had. I said, it's too large. It's like a couple 100 megabytes. He said, just upload it to YouTube and send me the link. I said, oh, okay, that's a good idea. So I did that. But not only for him, I put it on the site. And I said, here's this week's corals, our COVID corals. You can still kind of see what we have. And I just walked through and I said, this is an orange hammer. This is a open brain coral. This is a beautiful yellow and purple lobophilia that's showing off really nice streaks of green, and I just did a little commentary video. It was super successful in generating sales locally for our customers. They could, without coming in the store, they could see what I had, and I got to see a dollar amount associated with the video. I'm like, oh, that video generated, wow, that's crazy. Let's try it again this week. Let's try it again this week. Let's try it again. So it just slowly became this thing. And then people started watching that weren't in Toronto. People from all over the world just started watching to see the corals that we had in stock and comment. And I always wanted to do videos sort of like BRS, because people ask in, through email, they'll buy, let's say, 2 little fishies revive, which is our recommended coral dip. We think you should dip all the corals, and someone is going to mention, March, you're not dipping any of the corals. I've talked about it so many times in other videos. If I start dipping these right now, they're dead. It's the most stressful time that these corals are ever going to be in their life. We do a visual inspection after they go in. We keep wrasses in all the tanks. It is not feasible to sit here and dip all of them and risk and jeopardize killing a big majority of them. It really falls on the hobbyist. And the one you really have to worry about, there's going to be 2. It's going to be zoanthids and it's going to be acropora. Those 2, the acropora eating flatworms and the zoanthids. Torch, also there's a euphilia that also eats them. But you really have to be a diligent hobbyist and do not rely on the store to dip. Because anyone that tells you they dip a store on this level and scale, moving through thousands of corals, if they tell you they dip and quarantine all their corals, unless you're a aquaculture facility like Tidal Gardens, where you're selling 99% of what you sell is what you grow, I would be very skeptical of their answer if they're telling you they dip. Anyways, 2 little fishes revive. If I was going to dip all these, that's the one I would use. So let's say a customer says, how do I use it? I just bought it on the site. My plan was to have a video for every single product in the store. So instead of sitting there and writing a long-winded message on how to use it, I would just refer them to the video. Hey, I just bought this skimmer. How do I dial it in? I got the Tunzi Osmolator 3155. Where do I set the water level sensor? Or I'm looking at you setting up a Neptune AFS fish feeder. Is it going to work with pellet food? Like all these questions. I get about 150 to 200 emails a day just to Frag Box. On Reef Casa, not that many yet, maybe about 20. So behind the scenes, what you guys don't see, because I still do a lot of the emailing, not all of it, it's starting to be shared between people here in the store, is just answer questions. But I don't have the time to answer everyone, and I don't like not answering people because I think it's just good energy. Someone asks for help, you give it to them. So the plan was to make videos for each and every single product, kind of like BRS did, but with less of a manufacturer kind of feel, more of my spin on it. And so between COVID and that want to do all those videos, it kind of gave me, it was the catalyst to get my butt in gear. And that's what really started the channel. I can't remember the guy's name, but if you're watching, just know that you were a very integral part in any and all the videos that have brought us here until today. Wow, so far only 1 DOA. That's actually quite incredible. It makes me very, very happy. On this order, no acanthophilias. Now, I don't think you're ever going to see those corals at the store again, and I'll explain to you why. We had a little trip to Ohio to go see Tidal Gardens, and my friend Paul from AAC, Advanced Aquarium Consultancy, was there. And I really look up to this guy. He has been, you know, when I started in the hobby, he'd already been in business for 20-something years. Like, he, for me, is the friendly old, actually he's kind of grumpy, never mind. He's a little bit grumpy, but if you know him, he's a great guy. He really is. And he's super knowledgeable. Like, he really loves the animals. I don't think I've ever met anyone with more fish knowledge than him. Like, he can just, any saltwater fish he looks at, he knows the Latin name, he knows what ocean it comes from, he probably knows the collector, maybe he might even know the diver's name himself who picked it out. He's just an encyclopedia. He's an almanac of fish, of coral, and everything related to the industry, all wrapped up in one beautiful man. And I really value what he says. I really look up to him as a person and a friend. And we were talking about acanthos, and something I hadn't realized, or I heard as a rumor, is the ones that we bring into the hobby, many of them are probably 50 to 60 years old. A lot of them are being harvested at rates that don't align with their quota. And it's just doesn't help the hobby in any way. What do I mean by that? It's a trophy piece. They're really expensive, so they'll be between $500 and I've seen them as high as $5,000. But it's not a piece that you're going to frag. You're not going to grow it out and spawn it in captivity. It's a trophy. You bought it and it looks beautiful. It looks amazing, but it doesn't do anything for the hobby. It doesn't progress. and it's taking very old and endangered species of corals out of the ocean for nothing more than having a single beautiful piece. Now let's say this. Let's take this for example. Frog spawn. I got back 2 colonies of frog spawn from a customer this week. This is a common species that people will trade back in. These are almost all grown in coral farms out in the ocean. We don't need or harvest them from wild ones anymore. Hammer corals, that's another good example. Zoanthids, there's so many in the hobby right now currently of zoanthids, different types, and that are cultured all over the world, not even just here in Canada. In the US, you know, there's just so many different types that we really don't need to or should harvest them anymore, because there's just so many already that grow really well in coral collections all over the world. You go to any trade show like Reefapalooza or Aquashella, you're going to find literally 5,000 different zoanthid frags, most of them grown in captivity. So things like that, corals like that, that help the hobby forward, that help people understand more about corals. They keep them, they love them, and then they may be more, you know, obliged to do things that help the ones that are in the ocean. That's how I like to think. I'm an optimist. Acanthophylias, they don't have any of those same qualities. It's just, when I found out that they're that old, 50, 60 years old, it just feels wrong. Now, I don't feel bad at all about taking something like this. Hold on, let me show you. It's in the tank. I'm going to grab it. Clove polyps. After spending some time underwater diving in Indonesia, the amount of clove polyps I saw was sickening. It's like if you harvest a square acre, a square kilometer, square mile of clove polyps, you won't even make a dent. The fields of clove polyps were crazy. It's just nonstop as far as your eye can see. Harvesting them, taking them would be this, and getting upset would be the same as like cutting your grass and getting upset about not collecting all the little pieces of grass that your lawnmower spits out. That's how much of it there is. But certain species, like, again, I'm going to come back to Acanthophylia, doesn't progress the hobby. Nobody frags them. You wouldn't dare frag them because of the cost. And it's just something I've decided I want to kind of curate and be a little bit more responsible with the pieces we bring in, and just try to be a better advocate for the corals if I can. So, you know, I struggle with that because I do love them. Sometimes I go through these phases where I'm like, you know what, just leave them all in the ocean, we shouldn't touch them. They're on the endangered species list. So to me, that kind of means like, okay, then how are we allowed to harvest any of them? Mushrooms, I really say no problem. You know, these corals that are weedy, I say weedy in our tank because they grow like weeds. Imagine how they are in the oceans under the correct conditions. All the acropora we brought in the other day, the hard corals, all grown out in coral farms. None of it is wild. None of it's harvested from the wild. But that conversation with Paul really had a meaningful effect on me, and you're not going to see any more acanthos. Now, am I telling you what to do? Don't go out, don't buy them, don't support your store. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just trying to give you my viewpoint and where I am at my journey on this coral quest. Okay, they've had a couple hours. They're starting to open up. It's a really, really nice shipment. Overall, very, very happy with it. Some of these torch colors are just like super vibrant. Look at this. Not fully open yet, but just so yellow, goldeny. Tiger tail fart torch. Like I said, you know, don't worry too much about the names. Just buy the ones that speak to you. Like maybe this beautiful flower pot. The Yumas. You know, every time I do a video like this, I say the star of the show. Who is the star of the show?
Snake polish.
On this one, right now, it's not Will, because look at this. Fired.
Ooh.
You're fired. Okay, it's like the apprentice. Look what happens when torch coral touches mushroom. These are going to kill these.
Yes.
So, fix that.
Shift it to 97?
No, we're recording. We're live right now. One second. Yeah, the Yumas. Really, 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 really nice Yumas. Like these ones we have a bunch. So cool. I think, you know what? I'm going to take the time actually to do another video and walk through, because I'm seeing some really, really crazy stuff here. And I think this video has gone on too long, and we're going to wrap it up. Thank you for watching this one. Hope you had fun. Hope you learned something, and hope to see you back here on the next episode of Frag Box TV. Bye for now.